Okay guys, so today we're gonna answer the most important question of the season. Who the heck is Santa Claus? Where did he come from? Why does he live on the North Pole? And what is he doing in my house? Well, you might want to get comfortable for this one because it's quite the ride. It involves Norse mythology, a father who was about to sell his daughters into prostitution, a crazy Dutch tradition with quite a controversial past, and I'm Dutch myself, so this one hits home. A poem and Coca-Cola. Some of you might think that Christmas Day was the day that Jesus Christ was born, but that is not true. No one really knows for sure, but it was probably more like August, or some sources even say spring. The date December 25th was chosen for a different reason. It falls just after the winter solstice, which usually falls between the 20th and the 22nd of December, which also marks the shortest day for anyone in the northern hemisphere. To ancient cultures, this marked the return of the sun, of the daylight. And speaking of ancient culture, the one that I wanted to talk about today was the Norse culture, and specifically about Odin. So this is what many people know Odin as today, basically because of Marvel, but it's not really an accurate representation of what Odin looked like to the Norse people. Let me introduce you to the god of poetry, war, sacrifice, death, magic, and knowledge. He actually looked more like this. He was an old man with only one eye, he had a long beard, wore a cloak and a wide-rimmed hat. He had a staff, and he's most often pictured with two ravens. If all that sounds familiar, then that's not really surprising because Tolkien actually modeled Gandalf after this description.
And has been my friend through many dangers.
So during the winter solstice, Odin would lead the Wild Hunt on his white, eight-legged horse Sleipnir. The Wild Hunt is this crazy event where Odin and his army of supernatural riders and spirits of the dead would race across the dark night sky in search of lost souls and sinners and unburied dead. If you saw or heard the Wild Hunt in the night sky with your own eyes, then that would be perceived as a bad sign. It would be a sign of war and death and disaster. Basically, it kind of symbolized how bad winter was for the people back then. And so children would actually leave food and offerings out the door for Odin's horse. And in return, they would hope for protection and blessings. So already we're seeing a lot of similarities with Santa through all of this, right? We have an old man with a beard who rides through the night sky during the winter solstice. Odin rides Sleipnir, an eight-legged horse. Santa's sleigh is pulled by 8 reindeer, and children will leave food for the reindeer. So Odin was a good start to the Santa puzzle, but he's only the first part. Next, we're going to Mira, which is now southwest Turkey. Here we meet Nicholas, who is an orphan, but he inherited an enormous amount of money from his family. Nicholas had devoted his life to Christianity and became a bishop. Do you notice his clothing? A red robe, a mitre, a staff? Looking pretty familiar. Nick was best known for his charity and generosity, giving his family wealth away to the poor, and especially children. We won't get into too much detail on his life in this video, but there is one story that you should really know about. So there was a poor man with 3 daughters of marrying age, but he could not afford their dowries. Without them, they faced a future of prostitution and even slavery. Then in the dead of night, Nicholas would come to their house and throw bags of gold through their window into stockings that were hanging by the fireplace to dry. He did this in secret without ever wanting credit for it. On December 6th, 343 CE, Nicholas died. And this became a big feast day for the Catholics. Nicholas became a saint after his death, and his stories spread like wildfire throughout all of Europe, making him super famous. Okay, so again, through all of this, we see a bunch of similarities to Santa Claus, which obviously the first one is the name, Saint Nicholas, Santa Claus. Then we have an old man with a beard who's known for giving gifts to children. He comes in the night and puts gifts in stockings by the fireplace. He wears a red robe, a mitre, and this is also celebrated in winter. This one celebrated on the 6th of December and Christmas obviously on the 25th, but we'll get to that. Okay, so now it's time to talk about my upbringing for a second, because I actually didn't grow up with Santa Claus. I'm from the Netherlands and we celebrate Sinterklaas. So here's the history of how Sinterklaas came to be. Over 1,000 years ago, the region that is now the Netherlands was heavily influenced by Norse and Germanic belief systems. The Vikings brought with them stories about Odin, and a few centuries later, Catholics spread all around Europe, and they obviously brought all their stories about Saint Nicholas with them. So over time, Odin and Saint Nicholas would blend together and they turned into Sinterklaas. So this is what Sinterklaas looks like today, and these are his helpers. Now, there's a lot of controversy around Black Pete that we won't get into in this video, but what's important for you to know is that Sinterklaas had helpers and that they were introduced in the 1830s, which perfectly coincides with like the height of slavery and European colonialism. And yeah, it was no coincidence that Black Pete was introduced in this time period. But anyway, this is how I grew up celebrating Sinterklaas. So Sinterklaas would arrive in the Netherlands on the first Saturday after St. Martin's Day. So it kind of changes every year. This year in 2025, it was November 15th. He would arrive on a boat from Madrid, which is where he lives the rest of the year. Notice how he also has a white horse. So we would put our shoes by the fireplace and we'd fill them with carrots and sugar cubes for the horse, obviously, and drawings for the helpers and for Sinterklaas. We would then sing into the fireplace in hopes that Black Pete and Sinterklaas would hear it from the rooftop, and then go to bed and then hope that the next morning there would be a bunch of candy and gifts waiting for us. There's also a big naughty or nice aspect to the Dutch tradition as well. So obviously, if you've been nice, you get gifts, but if you've been naughty, you either get hit with a bundle of sticks by Black Pete, which is not really a thing these days anymore, but it definitely used to be, or you'd get taken to Madrid in the sack of Black Pete, which, as a kid sounded absolutely terrifying. But these days, I'm kind of like, well, that doesn't sound too bad, to be honest. So in the Netherlands, we celebrate Pakjesavond, which is basically our version of Christmas Eve, on December 5th. And then it's Sinterklaas's birthday on December 6th. So notice how St. Nicholas's death day was December 6th, but we have then turned that into it being Sinterklaas's birthday. So basically, we have our big celebration on December 5th, and then Sinterklaas goes home, back to Spain on December 6th to celebrate his own birthday in peace. Okay, so the similarities to Santa Claus are getting pretty obvious now. So we have the name Sinterklaas, which is basically already Santa Claus. We have the red clothing, the whole naughty or nice thing. We have giving gifts in the middle of the night. He comes in winter and he has his helpers. Okay, so then we finally get to America. So in the 1600s, Dutch settlers brought Sinterklaas with them to New Amsterdam, which is now New York. But as we know, America is this big melting pot of all kinds of cultures and traditions, and that was already starting to be the case even back then. German and Scandinavian immigrants brought over Yule traditions on the winter solstice, and this actually included the first version of the Christmas tree. By the late 1700s, Sinterklaas started changing in America. Slowly, celebrations moved from December 5th to now December 25th. So then over the years, Santa Claus as we know him today started to take shape a little bit more, especially through this one poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas, which is better known as
'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse.
But Santa didn't really become the Christmas icon that he is today until 1931, when Coca-Cola commissioned Haddon Sundblom to paint Santa Claus for their Christmas ads. He was heavily inspired by that same poem, and he actually used his neighbor Lou as a model. You know what's crazy is that Coca-Cola and Santa are so tightly connected that a lot of people think that Coca-Cola invented him. But we've just found out that that is absolutely not the case. What's up guys? I'm just editing the video right now and I realized that we never even talked about the crazy AI generated Coca-Cola ads that are running right now. So last year Coca-Cola made a fully AI generated Christmas ad and they received so much backlash on it that this year they decided to double down for some reason. People are pointing out that at the very end of the videos as the trucks are pulling into the town, they are definitely hitting those people that are in their way. They are not slowing down for them. People are roasting Coca-Cola in the comments. Yeah, I wonder what they'll come up with next year. So finally, while researching for this video, we came across so many different Christmas traditions, but there were two that really stood out from the rest. The first one is this insane nightmare fuel from Wales. They put a horse skull on a stick and they go around houses. It's crazy, look into it. And the second one is the Icelandic brothers, which that we could make a whole video about in and of itself. Again, if you're interested, we'll leave some links down below. Guys, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, peace.